Just imagine for a second, you go to a pharmacy for a life-saving antibiotic, but what you're sold is a pill made of chalk. Now, this isn't some far-fetched scenario. It is the daily reality of a multi-billion-dollar illegal trade in fake medicines. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this silent epidemic and see why its deadliest consequences are being felt all across the African continent.
And this is where you really see a tale of two worlds. You know, in wealthier countries, the counterfeit drug market, it's often about lifestyle stuff. But in many developing nations, and especially across Africa, it's a whole different ballgame. The targets aren't wants, they're needs, the essential medicines for malaria, for HIV, for bacterial infections. So the stakes aren't just about getting ripped off, they are literally about life and death.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to get our terms straight. What exactly is a fake medicine? Then we'll dive deep into why Africa has become the epicenter of this crisis, uncover the absolutely devastating human cost, and, this is the important part, we'll explore the incredible ways people are fighting back to build a safer future.
Okay, so first things first. We need to be really clear about what we mean when we say fake medicine. It's not just one thing. It's actually a pretty complex category, and understanding the differences is absolutely crucial if we're going to figure out how to fight the problem. So first up, you have what are called falsified medicines. Just think of these as pure, intentional criminal fraud. They are designed to look exactly like the real thing. The packaging, the branding, everything. But on the inside, it could be anything. Harmless chalk, maybe toxic chemicals, but almost always none of the active ingredient that you actually need. The key word here is intent. This is deliberate deception.
Then you have substandard medicines, and these are a different beast altogether. See, these actually start out as genuine products, but somewhere along the supply chain, maybe because of shoddy manufacturing, or they were left in the blistering heat, or they just expired, they've lost their punch. They're no longer effective. The intent here might not be malicious, but for the person taking that pill, the result is just as dangerous. A medicine that doesn't work.
And finally, there's this third category, gray pharmaceuticals. Now, these are real drugs, but they're being sold on the black market, outside of any official regulated system. Because they're completely off the books, there are zero safety guarantees. It's this massive loophole that lets potentially dangerous products get into the hands of patients who don't know any better.
Okay, so now that we've got the lingo down, let's zero in on the epicenter of this crisis. Because in Africa, these aren't just dry definitions. They are part of a daily, devastating public health emergency.
Get ready for this number, because it is just staggering. Between 2013 and 2017, the World Health Organization found that a whopping 42%, we're talking nearly half of all the fake and substandard medicines reported in the entire world, were found in Africa. This isn't just a problem on the continent, it's a crisis that is overwhelmingly concentrated there.
And it's not just about what gets reported, you know? When researchers really dug in, they found something even more shocking. Nearly 1 out of every 5 medicines circulating in parts of Africa is of poor quality. That's the highest rate of any low or middle-income region on the planet. This is the hard data backing up a massive, widespread emergency.
So, you've got to be asking, why? Why is this happening on such a massive scale? Well, the answer is grimly simple. It's all about the money. To put this into perspective for you, the trade in fake pharmaceuticals is estimated to be up to 25 times more profitable than the heroin trade. Let that sink in. With that kind of money on the table, it's no surprise that criminal networks are diving in head first. And that insane profit motive is feeding on what is basically a perfect storm of vulnerabilities. First, you have a huge demand for medicines that legitimate supply chains just can't always meet, creating a vacuum that criminals rush to fill. Then, you've got weak regulatory systems, and about a third of countries that just can't stop the fakes from flooding in. And finally, you have high prices that push desperate, poor people to take a huge risk on a cheaper, unverified option. It's a tragic recipe for disaster.
The numbers are shocking, for sure, but behind every single one of those data points is a human story. So it's crucial that we move beyond the statistics and really understand the real-world human cost of this epidemic. Just take a moment to really let this number sink in. We're talking about an estimated 450,000 people dying from malaria every single year. Not because malaria is incurable, it's not, but because the medicine they were given was a fake. These are preventable deaths. It is a silent massacre happening year after year.
And the tragedy doesn't just stop there. Beyond those immediate deaths, these drugs create this devastating ripple effect. For example, when a fake antibiotic has just a tiny bit of the real ingredient, it doesn't kill the infection. What it does is it gives the disease a workout. It's like sending the bacteria to the gym, making them stronger and creating drug-resistant superbugs that are a threat to all of us. Not to mention the unexpected toxic side effects from wrong ingredients, and of course, the massive financial waste for families and governments paying good money for what is essentially poison.
And this is really where the local crisis threatens to become a global catastrophe. Way back in 2009, researchers were already sounding the alarm, warning that if fake HIV/AIDS drugs created widespread drug resistance, it could trigger what they called a macroeconomic pandemic, something that could overwhelm health systems and cripple entire economies. So this isn't just a regional problem, it's a global threat just waiting to explode.
Okay, so after all of that really bad news, I know it can feel pretty hopeless, but it's not. Across Africa and around the world, there is a multi-front battle being waged against this deadly trade. So let's look at how technology, new policies, and collaboration are finally starting to turn the tide.
So how do you even begin to fight back against a problem this huge? Well, there's no magic wand, no single silver bullet. It takes a really coordinated attack on 4 key fronts. You have to treat this like the serious crime it is. You need to use technology to outsmart the criminals. You have to build stronger regulations, and everybody has to work together across borders. A huge first step is to stop treating this as some kind of minor offense. Through something called the Lome Initiative, 7 African nations have come together to officially criminalize the trafficking of fake medicines. We're talking about treating these traffickers like the organized criminals they are, hitting them with substantial penalties that serve as a real deterrent.
Technology is also proving to be an incredibly powerful weapon. Things like serialization, which puts a unique tracking code on every single drug package, lets you follow it from the factory all the way to the patient. And there are even simpler tools, like SMS verification, that empower patients themselves. You can just text a code from the box and get an instant reply telling you if your medicine is legit. And on top of that, you have mobile labs, these amazing portable toolkits that can screen drugs for quality right there in the field, even in the most remote villages.
And finally, and this is so critical, it's about teamwork. The newly established African Medicines Agency is working to get every country on the same page, harmonizing regulations across the entire continent. And this is so important because it closes the loopholes that traffickers love to exploit, hopping from a country with tough laws to one with weaker ones. It's all about creating a unified, continental shield against these fake medicines.
So you can see there is a real fight happening on the ground and real progress is being made. But the sheer scale of this crisis remains absolutely immense. It's an epidemic that silently claims hundreds of thousands of lives a year, far from the international headlines. Which really leaves us with just one final lingering question. This is a silent epidemic, but is the world listening?